The first 3 chapters of Revelation consist of letters to Christian communities in Asia Minor, that is, modern Turkey. Here we see those churches, with their guardian angels holding scrolls that identify their locations: Ephesus, Smyrna, Pergamum, Thyatira, Sardis, Philadelphia, and Laodicea. The names are unfortunately illegible in the low-resolution Cloisters manuscript, while they aren't given in the London or Paris versions. In Greek, the word ecclesia, simply transliterated in the Vulgate, is usually rendered church, but it originally meant assembly or gathering. John was using it for bands of early Christian believers who met secretly, probably in each other's homes. John's addresses to them encourage and warn regarding rival Christian leaders who took a more Gnostic point of view, Jews who rejected the early church as a heresy, and enemies, personal or religious, who might denounce these illegal Christians to the Roman authorities as enemies of the state. These issues and distinctions were, of course, unintelligible to the 14th century artists, for whom the angels of the churches were Gothic angels with halos, wings, and much stiff linen, each in the doorway of its own little Gothic church. The 4th chapter begins, "After this I looked, and behold, a door was opened in heaven," which means simply that John could see into the divine realm. In modern times, glass has made windows the portals on interior space, so today John would probably have said, "I peered as it were through a window open on heaven." In the 14th century, this sort of doorway metaphor was not yet archaic, so the manuscript reproduces the idiom with a literalness that strikes us as charming, but which would have seemed perfectly ordinary to the contemporary viewer. John views God on his throne of judgment, framed by a mandorla, a very convenient art history term. It's the Italian word for almond, which is the shape of a kind of full-body halo placed around Christ or the Virgin in medieval art. The mandorla is rainbow-colored, echoing the rainbow round about the throne behind Christ. At top are 7 lamps of fire burning before the throne, which are the 7 spirits of God. Below the lamps and the rainbow is a sea of glass, like unto crystal, whose watery character may be better seen in the London version. The sea is based on the molten sea, a large brass basin which was part of the furniture of Solomon's temple, described in 1 Kings chapter 7. There it was a kind of fountain, and part of the symbolism of the temple as center of the world, the source of all animating energy. Water is an apt emblem of this, since it visibly gives life to all. The Sea of Glass is the far more deluxe heavenly prototype of Solomon's Sea of Brass, his molten sea. The point being made in the text is that the Jerusalem temple is an authentic echo of God's palace. "And I saw in the right hand of him that sate on the throne a book written within and on the backside, sealed with 7 seals." This is the playbook for all the tribulations which precede the final mythological drama of the apocalypse. The throne, in sight like unto an emerald, is shown by the yellowish square on which God sits. In the Paris version, we can see that the square is actually a cloth draped over a bench-like seat. "Out of the throne proceeded lightnings and thunderings and voices." This is made visible by the heads of 6 hound-like storm spirits poking out from under the throne. Dogs were a good choice, since nothing is so characteristic of them as the amount of noise they make. In the London version, we can see that they are barking out lightning bolts, with red flames because lightning is a sort of fire, and with black points because lightning strikes precisely. "And round about the throne were 4 beasts, full of eyes before and behind, and the 4 beasts had each of them 6 wings about him. And the first beast was like a lion, and the second beast like a calf, and the third beast had a face as a man, and the 4th beast was like a flying eagle." These are the 4 living creatures described by Ezekiel in chapters 1 and 10 of his book. For Ezekiel, they are actually parts of God's throne, and show God's power to see all by their many eyes, and his power to go everywhere by their many wings. We must turn to the London version to see the eyes, and there they are drawn with gratifying profusion. Here the beasts are to be taken as symbols of the four evangelists: Mark the lion, Luke the calf, Matthew the man, John the eagle. The beasts rest not day and night, saying, Holy, 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 Lord God Almighty, which was and is to come. Each of the beasts carries a scroll with the text of their song in Latin. The Mark lion has a scroll that says, Sanctus, Sanctus, Holy, Holy. What looks like an A is actually the first capital S. The Matthew man holds Dominus Deus Omnipotens, Lord God Almighty. The John eagle holds Potens, the rest of Omnipotens, then Qui est et qui erat, who is and was. Then the Luke calf has the conclusion, Et qui venturus est, and who is to come. Around them sit the 24 elders. The book itself makes them 24 because 24 is obviously a magical number, being a multiple of the number of the tribes of Israel. This company all hold musical instruments which are not mentioned in the text, but the medieval Catholic would hardly have imagined the glory of heaven without music. The London version gives a much clearer view of the instruments. We shall not dwell on the still strong Jewish content of Revelation, because the artists here saw it entirely through the lens of Catholicism. This page is essentially a traditional Christ in Majesty. This was an iconic depiction of God enthroned, which began to develop in the 4th century from images of the Roman Emperor. This 12th century Spanish fresco in Boston's MFA gives a good idea of the basic features.